All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, on the heels of me talking about this last night, one of Scott Boris's biggest clients that was still available has now been signed. Outfielder Cody Bellinger is heading back to the Chicago Cubs. Now, it was not the mega deal that I'm sure that Bellinger and Boris were seeking, but the veteran outfielder will be returning to Wrigley Field on a 3-year deal for $80 million. Now, after Bellinger spent the first 6 MLB seasons of his career with the Los Angeles Dodgers, he went to the Cubs on a 1-year prove it deal last season, and Bellinger truly did prove it. He hit 307 with 26 home runs and 97 runs batted in for a Cubs team that overachieved, and they were surprisingly in contention for the entire season. Now, you look at the Cubbies, they are a very intriguing team heading into the 2024 MLB season. They finished a game behind the Arizona Diamondbacks for the final wild card spot in the National League a season ago. And if you're the Cubs, seeing what the Diamondbacks did in getting to the World Series, you're sitting back and looking and saying, hey, that could have been us in that spot right there. But nonetheless, you got to there's a good feel for the Chicago team. I mean, you think about it, they got a new manager in Craig Counsell, a Midwest guy. He's had success with the Milwaukee Brewers within that division. And now he has an opportunity to do it for, the Chicago Cubs. And I guarantee you, the arrival of Craig Counsell brings excitement to this club. You're putting Bellinger back into a lineup that includes the likes of Dansby Swanson, who was a big free agent acquisition for the Cubs, and Ian Happ. And, if you're a Cubs fan, you've really got to be optimistic for your chances with this team now that Bellinger is back into the fold. But getting down to Bellinger and Scott Boras, and you ask yourself, was this a win or was this a loss for this duo? I mean, I'll tell you like this: it depends on which way that you view it. I mean, you look at it with this 3-year deal that Cody Bellinger has, he has opt outs after both this season and the 2025 season. So there's an opportunity for him if he wants to try to go out there and test that market again. Now, if he does play out the entirety of his deal, he will be 31 when he would hit the market again. But I'll tell you like this, clearly, Bellinger and Boris did not get the long-term deal that they were seeking. And like I talked about last night, it's one of those where teams are looking at it probably, which Cody Bellinger are we going to get? Are we going to get the Cody Bellinger that in his first 3 years in the National League or in baseball, rather, with the Dodgers, was the NL Rookie of the Year in 2017 and then the NL MVP in 2019? And of course, he hit 305 that year in 2019 with 47 home runs and 115 runs batted in. But then we saw the drop off, in 2020. He didn't have the production that we were accustomed to, of course. He still helped the Dodgers win a World Series that year. And then the injuries really started to factor in. Bellinger was not healthy for the remainder of his Dodgers career. But again, like I said, he was healthy last year and he was on that 1-year prove it deal. And Cody Bellinger did have a big year. But again, injuries, I think, scared some teams off from giving him that long term deal. And I think this is something that Cody Bellinger is just going to have to accept going forward. He's not going to get that mega deal, that 8, 9 year deal. And it's one of those with teams in general. I think they're really going to pick their spots as far as who they give those 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 year deals to, because now the new trend around baseball with what we're seeing teams lock their top guys up at a very early age, getting them in on a better rate, if you will. We just saw the Kansas City Royals, excuse me, do it with Bobby Witt. So it's one of those where it depends on what camp that you look at it as far as whether you feel that this was a win or loss for Cody Bellinger and Scott Boras. But I think, Cody Bellinger being back in fold with the Cubs. He's familiar with them. They're familiar with him as well. It's just getting adjusted to a new manager and Craig Counsell. I think Cody Bellinger is set up to have a solid year once again for Chicago. Again, those two opt-out years on his deal definitely helped the deal. As far as what does he want to try to go out there and prove it again this year and maybe opt out after this year? We got to wait and see. But nonetheless, I think he is set up to have another solid year, in my opinion, for the Chicago Cubs. And with the return of Cody Bellinger, does this make the Cubs the team to beat in the National League Central? I'm going to say yes. And of course, talk about the Cubs and the National League Central the closer we get to the start of the MLB season. But nonetheless, you look at it like this. I mean, the NL Central was up for grabs last year, in my opinion. It's the most winnable division out of all of them in the National League. I mean, we're still, about a month away from the start of the season. Most people think that the Braves are the team to beat in the National League East, and then the Dodgers in the West. But you look at it, Milwaukee's probably going to take a step back with a new manager, a front office shakeup. What are we going to get from the St. Louis Cardinals? What are we going to get from the Pittsburgh Pirates? And what are we going to get from the Cincinnati Reds? So that leaves the Chicago Cubs. And again, like I said, the Cubs overachieved last year, in my opinion, but I think they can live up to their expectations this year. You've got a good lineup with Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson, Ian Happ, and of course the aforementioned Cody Bellinger. So I think that the Cubs should enter this season as the team to beat in the National League Central. And now for Scott Boras, now that he was able to get Cody Bellinger signed, will we see Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, Matt Chapman, and JD Martinez signed soon as well? I think we will, because I think the clock is ticking, and I think the more that the clock ticks, there's leverage that's being lost, and guys need to get into camp. Blake Snell's not going to get a long-term deal, and he's not going to get the big money that he and Boris expected him to get. If he was going to get it, he would have gotten it already. And I think the same could be said for Jordan Montgomery. I see JD Martinez getting a one-year deal with an option for 2025. It's just comes down to how much that a team is willing to pay him. And then Matt Chapman, he can produce. Yes, but I don't see a team breaking the bank for a guy who is a 240 career hitter, just like I said last night. But nonetheless, Cody Bellinger is back to his old stomping grounds. Wrigley Field was good to Cody Bellinger last year, and Cody Bellinger was good to Wrigley Field. And I think he and the Chicago Cubs are set up to improve off of a solid season in 2023, as the start of the 2024 MLB season is right around the corner. So, folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.